Gale nearly got a flick on that.
Can he put it into the path of Latterline? He's thinking about going himself. Latterline, and Latterline! Oh, that's a wonderful goal!
Now on to Benjamin. Just holding off him. Benjamin twisting, turning, that's it!
It's Liam Henderson to deliver. David Gray has scored.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Down the Slope. I was feeling flat as a pancake, to be honest, Craig. I'm not going to lie, before watching that intro video, but now I've just perked up and I'm full of energy and positivity having watched that. Maybe we should actually just have an hour's worth of Hibs goals instead of us talking. Maybe that would be better content for listeners. What do you think?
Well, we're just saying before we started recording there, we're hoping to try and avoid a moan fest here after the last couple of results anyway. So we'll see how we get on.
Aye, and I think that's all you can hope for really for the next sort of 45 minutes to now. You've got Craig and myself, two of the more balanced individuals on tonight's podcast, I think it's fair to say. Maybe slightly less reactionary members, if I could say that as well. Just get my digs in early.
It's definitely
I do. It's a pity you and Harry aren't here to join us tonight, because I know that you in particular had quite a lot of thoughts on the game, but you will just have to put up with the two of us for the next wee while. Craig, you were at the game last night. I'm going to ask you to sort of summarise, first of all, your feelings going in at half-time, because I think that felt like the sort of pivotal stage, a fairly pivotal stage of the game. How are you feeling at half-time? What were the conversations like that were going on around you?
It definitely felt a bit flat, to be fair. I went down and met Harry and Ewan at half-time, and I would say it felt, it's typical in football, when somebody scores right before half-time, it felt like they were going in with the lead and we were losing. That's almost what it felt like at that stage, because we'd been so good in the first half and had so many chances. It just was a bit of a gut punch right on half-time. And to be honest, after the start of last season, I began to think we got rid of that, oh, here we go again feeling. But it did definitely have that sort of vibe about it, like when we were standing there, like, oh, fuck's sake, surely we're not going to do this again. But I think in the same breath, we were obviously all quite positive, because we had created a lot of chances. We had played well for large parts of the first half. So it was disappointing, but I wasn't raging or anything. Probably frustrated more than anything.
A question for you. I wasn't at the game last night, so full disclosure to the listeners. I was watching on Premier Sports, and Mikey Stewart made a comment, I think sort of fairly deep into the second half, and I'm interested in your views on this. He said if Hibs didn't concede that goal on the stroke of half-time, they go on to win the game. Do you share that consensus, or do you share
Probably
that sentiment?
I think so, because
Yeah.
I feel like we all watch football long enough. We know that momentum is such a big thing, and it just feels like sometimes when teams get a goal like that, it just gives them that kick on that they need. And I feel like if we go in 2 goals up, they've not got anything to come out into the second half and kick on with. I mean, ultimately we'll never know. It's a massive hypothetical, really, isn't it? Because they could come out, and as soon as they get a goal back, they've got momentum anyway. So, it did have that feeling that if we'd managed to keep it a clean sheet until half time, then I think we probably would have been okay.
Let's start with the more positive stuff then. So first half, chances galore, I think it's fair to say, and probably pretty good quality chances at that. I know there's a lot of debate about the usage or not usage of XG, but 2.79 XG amassed last night. So basically 3 goals worth of chances created. Virtually all of that coming inside the first half, because we didn't do very much in the second half, if anything at all. For you, was 2 goals enough? Did you think 2 goals was a fair reflection of our dominance in the game, or do you think there should have been more?
No, I thought we could have scored more. I also thought they could have scored right at the start, the first 5 minutes. They had a really decent chance, and I was surprised they didn't keep more of that up, to be honest. I was expecting, going into the game, that's what we were going to see. Loads of balls into the box, loads of pressure. And in the first 5 minutes, they came out, and it was like you could tell there was definitely an instruction for them to get right at us in the first 5 minutes and try and shut us down. So I was surprised that didn't continue. But to be honest, it's difficult because it was the far end, and I've actually not watched the highlights back. It's find that a bit too depressing, to be fair. But sometimes it's difficult to see them. But there was a couple of them that I thought. I know Bowie had one that Scott Baines made, but at the time I was like, he's got to score. He had also had a header at the back post that I thought he should have scored. Boyles had a one-on-one, among other chances.
The Rocky header as well is a really good chance that kind of got brushed over a wee bit in co-coms because I don't think they could figure out who got the connection, but it was a really good opportunity. The Boyle one. Did you mention the Boyle sort of one-on-one where he just straight into the goal? I mean, that's quite early in the game. I mean, watching the game, I think, obviously from a different lens from yourself, I think the quality of the chances like last night was really evident. What I'll say is I don't think we had to work particularly hard to create those really good quality chances last night. Like, I don't think it was through our own sort of scintillating play that was creating those chances. And kind of conversely as well, like, without wanting to move on in the second half, Falkirk had a huge amount of the ball in the second half, but also didn't really create an awful lot with the possession they had in the second half, which has kind of led me to the conclusion that I don't think they're a very good team, which makes last night's result even more difficult to swallow. Like, I didn't really feel like other than the sort of first 5-10 minutes where they did come at us a wee bit, and I thought, oh, we're in for a game here. Didn't really feel like they offered a huge amount. So I think that makes me even more frustrated we didn't get 3 points.
There was large spells of the first half where they were just basically giving us the ball back. They were trying to play sort of cutting balls right through the middle of the park, and it was just going to Salinger every single time. And everybody around was like, fucking hell, they're poor, like they're crap. But then obviously, I to be fair, I think it's probably largely a championship quality side, so they are relying on like making the game tight, getting in your face, basically stopping you from playing football. But to be fair, I don't think they had to do that in the second half. I don't think it was really a case of that. I just don't think we got going at all.
Nah, I don't know. I do think I think you're right. I think it's a largely championship quality side. There's a couple of players who stood out for me. There's maybe a wee bit of confirmation bias on one of them because I think I'd mentioned Keelan Adams before the transfer window closed as a potential right-sided option. I did think he was quite good down the right-hand side last night, and I thought Liam Henderson had a good game as well at the back. There was one or two others. The boy they've got on loan from Man United was very busy. Not sure about end product, but other than that, those three players, I didn't really have anyone else who sort of stood out for me last night as individuals. But that's probably enough about them, and I probably don't want to say too much more. We've got enough of our own shit to focus on. I don't even really know where to go with this next. I mean, we could talk about the 2 goals if we want to go back to kind of like old-fashioned sort of game review. Do you want to do that? I go on then. Talk me through the goals and what you made of them.
Our goals.
Aye.
The penalty. Obviously there was a claim, but I didn't think anything of it. And then obviously as soon as they stopped the game, when the ball's still in play, they ultimately have to give it. Really, there's no other alternative that's happened there. They're giving it. The handball sort of rule is the water has been so muddied on it this season. I feel like it's ridiculous. Like, nobody actually knows what constitutes a handball foul anymore. If it hits your hand, if it's deliberate, if it's not deliberate, if it's out for your body. Because I've seen a lot of these handballs that there's nothing they can do about it, and they're given penalties for it. And then inevitably, maybe a week later, they'll come out and say, "Oh, that was incorrect."
I genuinely, if that gets reviewed by will get reviewed by the KMI panel, I genuinely think it could be 3-0 either way on that panel. Like 3-0 in favour of being the right decision, 3-0 it being the wrong decision. I think it's such a grey area. I have a huge amount of sympathy with the player because I think the distance that the ball has to travel is not a lot of distance at all. But having said that, his arm, I mean, natural position again is just so subjective. Like,
I was
what
going to say,
is
because
and isn't a natural position? Like, I don't think anyone really truly knows.
people say this natural position thing, but a lot of you jump with your arms. Like, that's how you prepare yourself up. So ultimately, your arms are quite often going to end up somewhere in and around your head or out from your body or whatever. So I wouldn't want it given against Hibs, because I don't think there's much the guy can do about it.
No.
And I don't think the ball's going in the net either, so I don't really think there's much need to give it. But look, we got it, so I was obviously happy at the time. The second goal's a nice goal. That's a
Good
nice
bit of
bit of
movement.
football.
It's a good bit of play in the build up, and Jamie McGrath does exactly what you're hoping your number 10 does in that position, where he's composed, he takes his time, he doesn't just lash at it. It's quite an underrated wee sort of flick from Bowie to get to him in the first place, because Bowie has a go first and then he manages to get the ball through to him. It is a really good finish, and I'll be honest, when I went in, I was like, that's feet up, like, just going to enjoy the rest of it. I didn't see a way back for them at that point, even with how poor we've been defensively. But a really good goal for our perspective. Anything else to add on the goal?
Nothing on the goal, to be fair, but I was wanting to highlight, I don't know what it looks through the telly for you, but I thought Jamie McGrath was absolutely superb. I think I can remember him putting one foot wrong in the second half where he kicks out of play sort of right before he went off. But honestly, I thought he was definitely the best player. I'm not going to, well, I'll say with outside Liam Henderson for Falkirk, I thought he was the best player in the park. He looked so much more like himself and comfortable when he was playing more centrally. I thought that benefited us massively, having him a bit more central. Certainly that's what it looked like anyway, because he was driving through the middle a lot more. He was picking the ball up in more dangerous areas. His feet were good. He looked sharp and he looked on it, as opposed to maybe a couple of others that just at the moment just aren't looking quite at it.
No, let's say we're jumping all over the place a wee bit here, but let's talk about individual performances just on the back of that, because I think the other player who stood out for me as a positive is I thought Chaiwa had a good game, very industrious, which is kind of what we've come to expect from him. A couple of times last night where he just broke through tackles where he had absolutely no right to win the ball, a wee bit like his performance against Legia in some respects in the away game. Maybe some of the passing final ball wasn't quite there, but I did think last night overall his performance was definitely a positive for me. Anyone else from a sort of positive standpoint you'd want to call out?
Abita. I thought Abita had a good game for me. I thought he defended well. I don't remember him doing too much wrong.
It was the clearance with his right foot in the first half where I honestly lost my shit with him after the pass he had against Rangers.
I can't mind it.
So he obviously had that one against. We've not reviewed the Rangers game, by the way, right? So the one against Rangers where he passes it back across his own box, where they
and the intercepting
don't have a chance. So he gets the ball in a really similar position, maybe slightly more advanced last night, and instead of taking a touch, getting on his left, get out of the park, he goes first time, bangs it on his right foot, and it goes straight to them. And I think McKeever maybe had a chance directly from it. But other than that, so I'm nitpicking a wee bit, but it was a really basic clearance that he just didn't deal with well at all.
I thought he was good overall, to be honest. But I thought he had a decent game.
We'll not jump into negatives because I think we'll get to that when we talk about what happens next. So, goal in the stroke of half time, as we've already alluded to, our 7th goal this season that we've conceded in that exact sort of 5-minute or less actually spell, which I think does point to a systemic issue. Actually, to be honest, I think when it's 7 goals in sort of mid to late September, that is a systemic problem. I think we can say that now. What the fuck?
No, I agree with you, because I think I was having debates with Harry about Dundee United last season. This is just to link into your systemic thing. And he was saying how Dundee United are shite, they're crap, they're this and that. And I'm going, well, clearly it's no luck, because they're doing it time after time. So they're obviously doing something right, they're efficient, blah, blah, blah. on the flip side with Hibs at the moment, I think all these goals that we're conceding late on in games in both halves, not just towards the end of the first half, towards the end of the second half as well. Like, this isn't it's not a one-off anymore. It's not a bit of bad luck. Like, there's clearly some sort of trend there, a wee bit of a concerning trend that I don't know if it's switching off. I don't know if it's like minds are going to, oh, right, we can relax a wee bit now. It must be something like that, concentration going in towards the break. But it's damaging us right now because, like we touched on earlier, just the momentum shift, isn't it? It just kills you, absolutely kills you.
It does, and I don't know what you made of the crowd last night. I mean, again, like, I wasn't there, as I've alluded to. It felt a wee bit flat, to be honest. Was that because of the circumstances of the game, or actually just was it a bit of a flat away end last night? Because I'm conscious you were obviously really limited in your numbers as well.
Yeah, it definitely was flat. It was actually Beck said that to me at the game. She went, "That atmosphere's not that great tonight." And I was thinking, well, maybe it's just because it's a rearranged game, and quite often those suffer a wee bit. But it was flat, and then that just flattens it even further. That goal, but you're still ahead at that point, so you still are. Although you're frustrated, you're ahead. So you're thinking, right, we just need to come back out, get another goal, and we'll be all right.
You're clinging to it, eh? You're clinging to it. And then I think, I'll be honest, we didn't really come out and show in the second half for the first, whatever it was, 18, 19 minutes before their goal. We didn't really show what we'd shown in the first half in terms of intensity, level of performance, didn't really get into the right areas of the pitch. And then when they score from the corner, you kind of are thinking, here we go, slack marking. Is there much more to be said? It's a good header from Henderson, but it's
a good header, mate, but it's just unacceptable defending,
totally,
really, isn't it?
Totally.
It's not really good enough, and that's two games in a row. We're talking about trends. Unfortunately, cheap goals at the moment are a massive trend, and I think it's difficult because your opposition team will always talk about how they've executed it well and they've passed the ball well and finished it well, whatever. But from our point of view, every goal that we've conceded in the last wee while, to be fair, but let's just talk about the last two games this week. Just so bad, so bad. And he basically, again, I've not watched it back, but it looked to me like he had the freedom of the box just about. I don't know who was meant to be marking him, but it's so poor at the top level to concede goals of that quality and essentially shoot yourselves in the foot when you're doing everything right in an attacking sense, certainly in the first half, to get yourself in front and should be further ahead. But ultimately, 2 goals. I don't mean this as a disrespect to Falkirk, but ultimately 2 goals. Hibs scoring 2 goals should be enough to beat them. That should be enough. We should not be conceding 2 goals. So, no good enough.
And I think on most other nights it probably is, to be honest, because like I say, I don't think they went on to create like a barrel load of chances with all that possession they had in the second half. I think 2 goals more often than not is enough. But when you are conceding such cheap opportunities in front of goal, this is the risk that you run with teams ultimately that they're going to get one in. And then, to be honest, the next 35 minutes played out without a whole lot of incident, really, from my point of view. Anything in the last 25 minutes that you want to highlight?
Just a lack of urgency. I don't know. Again, I don't know. It's sometimes it's difficult to, at a game, you're maybe a bit biased because you're emotional about it. We're frustrated because we've come being 2-0 up to 2 each, and you feel like everything's worse than it actually is. But at the game, it just felt like we won it felt like we were almost settling for a draw. And to me, we should have been throwing everything at it to try and get a win. There was a lot of goal kicks that the goalie's taking ages to fucking get the ball back into the park.
No.
I know Bex and Harry highlighted after the game last night, they were fuming because Brian Graham has the ball near the end and he throws it away. And instead of going to get the ball, Salinger's just ran over to the ref and started moaning. Again, come get the ball, play on, just fucking get on with the game. We want to win the game. So again, a sort of similarity to the Rangers game. I just felt like in both the second halves, when we really needed to go for it, it's just felt like we've been a bit flat and a bit sort of lacking of ideas and impetus to go and win the game.
I think for me, it's really brought into sharp focus when Nicky Cadden's in the team playing left wing back, and he is essentially in the team at left wing back for his delivery from set plays and his delivery from open plays. That is why Nicky Cadden gets into his team, the crosses he puts into the box. And I don't think he had a single cross in the second half. There was a couple of times he tried to get down the outside his man and get across him, but I don't think he crossed the ball once.
I'll correct you, Liam. He did cross one once, but it went about 30 yards over the bar.
Right, okay, brilliant. So I think that's that for me. Depicts exactly how the second half played out. If we're not getting him into the positions where he's even able to get across, and bear in mind this guy can cross the ball from pretty much any area of the pitch. Right, as soon as he's over the halfway line, it's on. I mean, we couldn't do it. I think kind of shows just how poor we were. I think there was one other thing I wanted to highlight about the sort of later stages of the game. So Bowie got taken off quite shortly after the referee gave a free kick to Falkirk for what was not a free kick. So it was completely you got completely the wrong decision. I think that maybe forced David Gray's hand a wee bit, because I think it was his second foul since being booked, and probably second foul in the space of kind of 10 minutes or so. He forced his hand and he goes to Cleege. So it wasn't the usual sort of, Levitt off, someone on for Levitt 60 minute sub. It was, I'm going to do this sub because there's a guy on a booking. I'm worried about potential consequences. There isn't another change till 80 minutes last night. And, for all our talk of how good the squad's been this season, how good the position we find ourselves in, brings on Junior Hoylett, who I don't know what happened. I don't know if he's had like a body transplant from last season or something, but he has been genuinely a completely different player this season from the guy last season. I was pretty chuffed when we signed him on a new 1-year deal. He's been a hopeless is probably a bit unfair, but he's somewhere approaching hopeless this season. And Chris Cadden, who is everyone's favourite player, probably other than Josh Campbell, to malign at the moment, who to be fair probably didn't really do himself any favours the 10 minutes he was on the park. Were we maybe a wee bit, and I say we, I don't mean just us, but like the broader fan base, were we maybe a wee bit too high on this squad coming into this season based on some of the changes that we saw last night? Because the two later ones in 86 are Levitt and Campbell.
It's difficult to say, mate. I think inevitably as a football fan you get caught up in loving everybody, and when things are good, everything's absolutely unbelievable. But I don't know. I still don't think they're bad options to be coming off the bench. I'll be honest with you. I think sometimes in football nowadays, people just don't accept that sometimes players are just in good form, and I think we're going through a wee spell where we have several players that just aren't playing that well. Like, I don't think Junior Hoylett's a bad player.
No, obviously not. No, obviously not.
No, I'm not saying that you. I think he's in a bad wee run. Chris Cadden, probably the same. I thought he'd really struggled to get into the game last night when he came on. To be honest, I'm a Chris Cadden fan, but they did toil majorly when he came on. You touched on Nicky Cadden as well. Now, Nicky Cadden's delivery overall recently just hasn't been as good. And I think when you get back to a stage where he's putting balls right on Bowie's head on a consistent basis, and also when Bowie's actually putting them away, ultimately, everything seems a bit better, obviously. I think maybe we've got a few players that just aren't right at the races. I don't know if we used the old Derek McInnes excuse for last season when he was at Kilmarnock, or we've had 3 European ties, so that's why it's damaged the rest of our season. But because in these games we looked quality, we looked very, very good in some of these games. So we seem like I'm going all over the place here, but we seem like a one-half team at the moment. We play well in one half and then not very good in the other half. Rangers at Ibrox last night, Kilmarnock at home was the exact same. We were excellent in the first half, and then obviously conceded a screamer. So
I'm not bought into the European games excuse at all, because it's 6 games, right? And even if you were to include the 3 extra times, it's seven games, right, of worth of minutes. don't really buy it, because I think from a sort of, if we're talking about from a conditioning perspective, you would have been playing games anyway in order to build up the conditioning through pre-season, to get players ready, to get them sharp for games. The only way I would maybe buy it is, I do think, and you see this with the hangover for players playing midweek in Europe sometimes, playing the weekend. I think a lot of the time it's a more mental, we've been playing at a high level for games that are really high stakes, and now we've got to go and play Falkirk at the Falkirk Stadium with 3 stands, and we've got to go and get ourselves up for it, and there is a bit of a drop off. So I would maybe buy that excuse in those circumstances. But when the performances haven't been there at Ibrox as well, or there's probably 40 minutes of a performance at Ibrox, but left a lot to be desired the second half. I'm probably less kind of bought into that as a rationale. But
I don't buy it either. I
No.
think that excuse expired at Dundee United. Like, I thought that
Right.
was the last. After that,
Aye.
we should be. We've
International
got weeks
break
in
and all that as well, like
Aye.
a bit of a wipe the slate clean. Albeit, we do have an alarming amount of internationals in the club at the moment. I dare say come the end of the season, the way some of them are playing, they maybe won't be internationals on a regular basis. But I think you touched on an important point, because the next thing I was going to ask you last night was particularly about the defence, because back last night, or the 3 centre backs, if you like, O'Hora, Bashiri, and Obita, 3 of them obviously played very regularly last season. I'm sure they probably appeared in some back threes even together. Actually, maybe not, because Iredale kind of locked that position down for most last season. So there's maybe been a slight tweak, let's say, to the personnel, but it's broadly the same players who served as well last season. What other explanation can we offer up for the drop off between the second half of last season and the first 5, 6, 7 domestic games of this season?
I don't know. Somebody raised a point in one of the chats. I can't remember who it was, but is there maybe a wee bit of a lack of desire to win a ball at the moment? Like, when the ball's coming in the box, are we not hungry enough to win it? I don't know. If I knew the answer to it, I'd be texting David Gray right away. But
fair enough. And like beyond, I mean, I think we would probably both accept, Iredale's had a pretty poor start to the season. Sort of thinking ahead in terms of personnel changes, would you be going down the route of changing the personnel until it works, or are you thinking actually we need to look at the system and changing the system, or both?
I didn't buy into all this system pish, to be honest. It winds me up, though. It does wind me up when folk talk about it so much, and talk about tactics to the finest little detail about where somebody's standing on the park. I'm like, I just think whether we're playing fucking 3-4-1-2, 3-5-2, whatever it is, I honestly think it just comes down more to man management, players being in the right window, players being on it, being sharp, being at it, wanting to win when you're defending, win the ball, win your headers, play with confidence, play front foot. I think all these things are more important than whether Chaiba plays 5 yards deeper or 5 yards higher.
Aye, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Nah, I'm with you on that totally. I've never really been a big formations guy. I've said it to you last week in the chat. It's another way of formations are ultimately just a method of getting your best players onto the park in a system that they feel comfortable. Help support that. I'm probably loath to make lots of personnel changes, because I don't actually think the depth is there to make huge large scale changes for the game at the weekend. But I certainly would be maybe looking to make 1 or 2, potentially with Grant Hanley coming back in. I think whether that's in the middle in place of Rocky or on the right in place of O'Hora, I don't know. Don't really want to see him on the left again if we can help it. Then in terms of other changes, I'm really not sure, to be honest. I haven't seen enough from Barlasser, to be honest, for him to hold his place. I'm not saying he's been bad, but he hasn't convinced me across the 3 appearances he's had that he's worthy of a starting place. I'd probably be tempted to bring Mulligan back into the middle, which does feel like quite a big change, because you've put him right and then you're moving him back in. probably Mulligan alongside Chaiwa for the athleticism, and I'd probably bring Chris Cadden back in at right wing back in absence of there being lots of other options there.
I would definitely be bringing Mulligan back in to the centre of the park. I think that's
right.
You mentioned about putting your formations being away, getting your best players in the best positions on the park. And for me, although I think he's well capable at right wing back, even for the short period that he went into the midfield last night, I thought he looked better. Instantly made the tackle, picked the ball up and drove forward a couple of times. I think he gives us that drive through the middle of the park. Chaiwa does give you that, but I think Mulligan's a bit of a tidier player.
And up top, is it time to drop Martin Boyle?
I don't think it's time to drop him because his performances have been particularly poor. Because I think over the course of this season so far, I think he's actually been pretty decent. I don't think he's been sparkling or anything, but I would like to see a bit more of Cleege as we go forward. And I think you're probably not going to start Boyle and Cleege together. I think you have to do Bowie and one other.
Aye. I think the thing with Boyle is as well, and I'm probably in the place where I'd like to see a bit more of Cleege from I'm curious, because he's not really started a game other than Livy away, obviously in the Premier Sports Cup. He's not actually started a game and played a fair chunk of minutes in a game where you can really judge him on. I'm not sure that Celtic Park is a fair place to cast that judgment. No, and I worry that if he goes up front against Celtic with Bowie and we do nothing for 90 minutes, it'll be like, right, get him back at the team and get Boyle back in for the derby. So I'm not sure on that one. I would probably be tempted at Celtic Park, to be honest, to go down the left, Iredale with Obita in front of him, just from we're going to need defensively minded bodies to get us through that game. Jamie McGrath would probably keep his place just because he's been generally pretty good. I would suggest probably that's a game that suits Josh Campbell more, to be honest. But I might be shot down in flames for suggesting that he gets a place back.
You will not be shot down by me for suggesting Josh Campbell for Hibs ever.
No, I know you wouldn't, but I think there'd be plenty of people listening who'd probably turning off if we saying that. I think the thing is with Campbell, he's been really harshly criticised this season, but Josh Campbell was a fundamental part of why we turned that around last season. Like, he was a huge enabler in helping us get up the park in so many games through his pressing, but also his aerial ability. And I actually think we miss that a wee bit in the team at the moment, because when Bowie went off last night, I was thinking, as much as I want to see more of Cleege, actually Campbell was probably the sub from an aerial perspective to get you up the park. Campbell's probably the guy that you bring on first. But I think how that would be viewed by fans in terms of bringing off your sort of main centre forward and bringing on a midfielder probably wouldn't be too popular.
The optics of are great, to be fair.
Can I ask you a question? Only because it got mentioned in our chat we were in last night, but have we talked about Campbell at right wing back before, me and you?
Well, he played there a couple of years ago against Motherwell.
I had a stinker, eh?
He was poor.
He got caught out positionally a couple of times.
So it's not. I'll be honest, it's not one of that I would be particularly keen on. I feel like we'd be doing that purely just based on the striking similarities to Josh Mulligan.
No, well, I think that is definitely a factor, right? But the reason I mentioned it is because it had me thinking a game with aerial ability, right? And I'm not suggesting he should do it, but it's kind of weird because it's got one of those ones where it's got all the ingredients for it to work, right? So he's got the engine, he's got the aerial ability, which I think is massive at wing back, by the way, because the goalkeeper can just play that's on every time if you want to just play that little lofted chipped ball that we played up to Miller so many times at right wing back. We play it to Obita still quite a lot. Aerial ability at wing backs are really underestimated trait. It's also good for defending your back post when there's balls into the box. What did I say? He's got the engine, he's got the aerial ability. He doesn't have the positioning, right? That's the thing that he would have to learn. But I don't know. I just think because I think it's fairly clear to me. I think Chris Cadden's out of contract at the end of this season, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it end of next season? I think between the European games and the start we've had to the season, I think whether or not the squad's moved past them or not, I think a lot of the fan base have moved past Chris Cadden in terms of wanting him to be a starter. And I'll be honest, I kind of don't want him to be sort of subjected to being the next boo boy because he sort of overstays his welcome. I think he's been a pretty good servant over the piece for Hibs, but maybe you would argue, to get us on to that sort of next level, he's a player that we might look to sort of phase out.
But to be fair, I think that's probably one. I certainly remember you highlighting it during the transfer window that if we could improve a position, it would probably be right wing back, particularly given the loss of Lewis Miller. I've just looked up your squad depth chart, and it's May 2027. So another 2
right,
years.
so he's still got another 18 months at least. 2 years. I after that come out of my mouth, thought maybe it was 2 years. No, I mean, look, I've been a huge fan of his over the time at Hibs. I love players that are really industrious, that have got a good engine, who just, they get every ounce of ability out of their body the way that he has. And I do think ultimately having him and Nicky Cadden in the squad, it does force your hand a wee bit because they are essentially both specialist wing backs, right? Like that's their role. So you are kind of then forced to play that 3 at the back system. Someone else could potentially come in and say that's not the system I want to play or whatever, and you would have to move past them in any case. And I didn't really want to go back to seeing Chris Cadden as a right back because it didn't really work.
I think because he's more of an attacking minded. He's not an out and out winger. He is a wing back. He's definitely not a right back, and I don't think he's good enough to be a winger. So that's probably why he is a wing back. But I think when he's defending, maybe he needs to give himself an extra half yard or an extra yard because a lot of time he's just. I don't think he's got that initial burst of pace to stop a winger. Even if you take what was the one at Easter Road where he got done. I can't mind the exact example that I'm thinking of, but I just have visions in my head.
Is it in one of the European games?
I can't, mate. I can't.
Just I do vaguely remember the boy
dropping the shoulder and he's away
outside and just going round him, and it looked really bad. But I think the boy was also rapid as well, which didn't help.
Yeah. Was there no maybe one against? Did he play against Dundee United? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Just Dundee United there, and he got done. I think he needs to give himself an extra half yard to account for that sort of lacking bit of pace off the mark. But I know I keep going back to it, and it is maybe to your detriment sometimes, and perhaps it's to David Gray's, but he's a player that I would just trust. If I was manager, I trust him to go out and work hard and give his all, and I know he's going to try to do the right things. Whether it comes off or not is obviously a completely different matter. But
he can definitely carry out an instruction as well, is what I'd say. Like, managers trust him to carry out an instruction, and he does stick to his task. There was a game, I think it was under Lee Johnson maybe against Rangers at home, where he was kind of culpable for 2 goals vaguely in the first 25-30 minutes of the game. Don't know if you remember. I think Beale might have been the Rangers manager at the time, and he went on to win maybe 3-1 or 3-0. And he honestly was he just got ripped for toast. And then for the next 60-65 minutes, was just, I would say he was impeccable, but his performance was pretty flawless. And I don't know, he's got similarities to Campbell, and he's one of these players who looks like he really, when he does something wrong, he really beats himself up about it. Do you know what I mean? They kind of talk to each themselves, and they really, I don't know, emotional is not the right word because I don't know that about them or no, but
they hold on to it.
They hold on to it, and they maybe struggle to play through it. But that night he managed to play through it. Look, he's not alone. There's a lot of players at the moment who are just playing through bad form, I think, is what we're seeing at the moment.
That's what I'm seeing.
Anything else from a sort of individual point of view that you want to call out just over the last couple of games in terms of performances or where we're
at? I'd be actually interested to hear your thoughts on it because obviously you have a much better view on what I'm about to say. But I don't know if it was an instruction. It felt like it last night. The wing back, certainly I was noticing on Mulligan on a number of occasions, in particular in the second half, where not so much in the first half, but definitely second half, where I thought he could have been a lot wider and a lot higher. It felt like there was a lot of space for him to go into, and even when he got the ball, he was coming forward. And do you mind when Lewis Stevenson used to play? He used to wind everybody up. He'd run 15 yards forward, turn around, pass back to Paul Hanlon.
Aye.
And it seemed like we were doing that a lot last night. And the reason I bring it up is because when Chris Cadden came on, normally he gets the ball and he's head down, both, I'm away. Like if there's space there. But he put the head down, ran for 10 yards, and then it was like he was wanting to go and put the ball in, but then just didn't. He cuts back and then plays it inside. And I thought, is there maybe some sort of instruction there because for them both to be doing it seems strange.
I don't know, mate, to be honest, and I can't really comment on the spacing because the camera's too close to the pitch at Falkirk that you don't get a good, like, far out perspective. You're really close to the play. One thing I would say about the stuff in possession you mentioned is one thing I've observed with Mulligan, I don't think he's particularly comfortable doing that pass and then go down the outside channel.
Yeah.
I think his instinct is a wee bit more, I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to try and drive with it, rather than, Chris Cadden loves that 1-2 where he gives it and he makes the run down the outside, and look, most of the time he's a decoy and doesn't get back, but he always makes that run, he'll always show for it.
Do you think that's with Mulligan though, because he's maybe more midfield minded? He's thinking more often about driving inside and driving through the middle of the park rather than making a run without the ball down the outside of the park.
I think it could be. I think the thing with Mulligan, I think people underestimate he's played a lot of games on the right hand side. Like whether it's
I thought he was a right
midfield.
I thought he was a right wing back when he came in.
Well, I mean, that's where we'd obviously seen him play laterally last season. But I think he's played a lot of right midfield, right wing back, right back through his career, and maybe he is just one of these sort of fairly kind of dual position players that you have for different games and for different needs. You use them in different positions. The only thing with that is I hope it's not detrimental to his development. Like, I hope he's still getting some sort of development playing at right wing back. I mean, I'm sure he is, because he's still a young guy, and I'm sure he's still got a lot of growth left in his game. Generally, I'm still really positive about that signing. By the way, I saw a few tweets being like,
"What about Josh Mulligan?"
I saw a few tweets just over the last sort of couple of weeks saying, I think we'd gone a bit sort of too hot on him at the start, and he's actually not as good as maybe people suggested. But no, I'm still very positive about that one.
Nah, fuck off with that shite. I've
got to say, one thing I've definitely observed the last few days, the revisionism on players is mental. So, like, people that were saying this player's great, when they first joined, to like, are they actually that good after watching them for a few games? As I've always said on this podcast, right, what happens with footballers is the first few times you watch them, you do get a wee bit excited, but once you've watched them over a period of 15 to 20 games, which is why I always talk about sample size, it's over 15 to 20 games, you start to see their flaws. It's just like being in a relationship. For the first few dates, you think they're great, and then over a period of time, you start to see that they as a person are not flawless. Every human being is flawed in some way.
DTS dating advice.
I don't know why I did that.
No, but no,
everyone's switching off at that
point.
Right.
Yeah, right with obviously all with the sample size stuff, but I'm certainly not having it on the Josh Mulligan stuff. I think he's got so many raw attributes that he is just going to be a good player, full stop.
Nah, I think people are looking for this season's Quan. Remember last season, everyone was like, after a few games, Quan's great. Yeah, let's hope not. Craig, take me away from thinking about Quan.
Take you away from thinking about Quan.
I don't want to think about Quan.
No, well, you might have to. Oh no, because he's not at Celtic anymore. He's away out on loan, isn't he?
No, I think our club paid £1 million pounds or euros for him.
Wow.
Nonce.
Wow.
So they must have, talking about sample size, they must have lost one game from his period at Hibs, maybe one of the early ones, and thought that's the guy we want. Or maybe a player they watched on his period on loan at St Mirren and didn't watch any of his.
Well, they maybe seen some of his shots for the edge of the box that almost went in.
That was it. All the nominations he got. Was it top goal scorer or whatever it was?
Me throwing the Luke McCowan money at him.
Well, I don't think we really need to preview Celtic because we've talked about the team lineup and the changes that we'd make ahead of Celtic. We know what kind of team they are. They're obviously playing tonight. Is it tonight Celtic are playing?
Tonight, they're kicking off. Or they've kicked off 50 minutes actually.
So I mean, look, going to Celtic Park is always difficult, right? It will be difficult on Saturday. Craig, can I get a wee score prediction from you?
2-1 Hibs. 2-1 Hibs. Ever the optimist.
Right, I'm going to go, because we are absolutely incapable of conceding anything less than 2 goals in a game. I'm going to go 3-2 Hibs. I actually, I know, but I actually think there is a sort of outside chance that we might get something on Saturday, which I know feels, given the conversation we've had and given where everyone's mood feels like, sounds ridiculous. I don't know. I've just always got this thing in my head, right? See, when a team's creating lots of chances and they're not scoring as many goals as they should, eventually one game they just unload and finish all their chances. And we went to Celtic Park last season and we created chances in all the games.
I mean,
A couple of the games in particular, I did not take them. Aye. Miko had those, was it 3 chances in the first half in one of the games as well?
Yeah, I think that was the game he faked an injury as well, according to Harry. I'll not be happy about that one. But look, you never know. I think probably similarly to I maybe get pelters for this, but similarly to the start of last season, I think if you take certain things out of the game, and you actually look at the performances, like a lot of the performances, 2 second halves out with in the last 2 games actually haven't been that bad. Like, we've created plenty of chances, and like you say, but when you're creating that many chances, that's a positive. And I would look at it from this, if you want to be positive, if you want to just go rage and moan, fire on, because sometimes we all do it. We just want to moan and we just want to be left alone, and you didn't want somebody to tell you, oh, everything's all right, don't worry about it, be all positive. You just say, shut up, I want to moan. That's fair enough. But if at the moment we are saying we're in a wee bad spell, players aren't in form, if this is us having a wee bad spell and we're still not lost a game domestically, then things aren't really that bad, are they? So
and I think last season gives everyone that perspective. It gives us that perspective, but it gives the players that as well. We were 1-14 in the league at one point last season. Like, we won our first league game this season. So I don't think we're anywhere near wanting to hit the panic button. The title of this is "Should We Be Worried?" I think Craig and I are saying maybe a wee bit, but not overly worried to the point that we're smashing any break glass in case of emergency sort of stuff. I do think this was maybe a wee bit light, but I think the club had identified that. I think, us not getting Lyndon Dykes on the 1st of September, when he was clearly a player that they wanted, probably indicates that they knew that was an area we could have strengthened in. And I'm sorry to bring it right back to the Falkirk game, but I think there's been a few games this season where when Bowie comes off, it really is noticeable the level drops off in our attacking play. And actually a player like Lyndon Dykes would facilitate us getting back up the pitch and us creating chances because of the threat that he brings.
Yeah. Yep. No, you're not wrong. I know you actually cited the Lyndon Dykes one in the chat before as well. If the rumours are to be believed about the figures that were going out, I don't mind Hibs not doing it, because I think that would have been a crazy one. But definitely someone of that mould we're definitely missing. But and that's something we've all highlighted. That's something the manager has highlighted as well, openly in his interviews. And it's something that afterwards as well, the club said that we're looking to get. So hopefully that'll be something. But obviously it's difficult because you're picking from a very, very small.
It's a small pool
amount of players, aren't you? So
and it's late September now, where guys are not going to be particularly sharp. It's going to take them a while to get up to speed. I mean, realistically, you're not talking about them making an impact until the very earliest after the international break. So that's another few weeks away. It is a pity we didn't do the Dykes one. And I think the way he's playing and he's scoring goals probably means we won't be doing it in January either. But that is what happens sometimes in football. Anyway, anything else before do we want to finish up talking about Lyndon Dykes? Do we want to a transfer that could have happened 3.5 weeks ago?
I have nothing major to add.
No.
I don't think we need to panic. As you touched on, should we be worried? Yes, there's some concerning trends there, but I think overall we're okay. The narrative definitely will, or is likely. There's a good chance that it will get worse over the next couple of games, because you have got Celtic away and then Hearts away. So there's not, even for the most optimistic Hibs fan, if you look at it realistically, there's not too many points probably in that. I think 2 would be a good return.
And there's always someone else to laugh at as well.
Aye.
Will Jimmy Thielen still be in a job on Sunday, the 26th of October when we play them?
Who have they got next? Do you know?
Aberdeen's next 3.
I like the sound of that.
Motherwell away. Okay.
Aye.
The team that just lost it last weekend. Shakhtar Donetsk at home. And then Dundee at home.
Ooh.
They've got quite a few
Dundee
more
at home
fixtures
is
than us,
saviour.
actually. But they play AEK Athens away on the Thursday night before they play us on the Sunday.
Lovely. And by the way, is Craig going to get a win at Pittodrie at the fucking 45th time asking? Surely that's got to be the one. That has got to be it. Or will they get a new manager bounce for that one?
Who knows? Who knows? Well, if you join us in a few weeks, we'll tell you the answer. Folks, we hope that hasn't dampened your spirits too much. Just the 2 of us tonight. We certainly enjoyed recording it. Hope you stuck with it. And all that's left to say is, Moan the Hibs.
Cheers.